Hello, and welcome to what I believe is the 42nd episode of The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. I'm Project Aurora. As always, you can follow me on my Twitch at twitch.tv/Project Aurora, as well as joining the community Discord. So, little brief recap. We finished up our field study over in Legram. We saw what was possibly the ghost of the St. Leanne Sandlot. Seemed like some stuff was going on there. Apparently they're out of time, Celine hinted at, but we still don't know exactly what's going on. But it seems deeply tied to Reen, and maybe we'll get some answers in the next chapter or two here, or maybe we won't even know until Cold Steel 2. I don't know. With that being said, we made our way to Garrelia Fortress, where Instructor Nightheart is sort of allowing us to be at, and we will get to see a military exercise soon. Right now we're exploring the base. It's quite fancy. I need to cough and clear my throat. 1 second, hold on. Alright. So, we've been wandering around the fortress. We're going to finish wandering around the fortress. Garrelia Fortress was under attack in the beginning of in the beginning of the game, like the prologue, kinda. I'm really wondering what's about to happen. It's definitely very interesting. And I guess we'll see and get an idea of what's coming soon. But it's gonna be because of the Imperial Liberation Front. We saw Captain Claire Revel while we briefly stopped in, I believe it was Keldic or Bereahard. We saw the Eisengraf, which I believe was like a red train, Prince Oliver, Toa, Duke Alberea, and the Blood and Iron Chancellor, Iliath Osborne, were there as well. So it seems like some big things are setting up to happen. I remember the last cutscene we got with the Imperial Liberation Front. It seemed like Gideon was off to Crossbell. It seems like he might even die. It was implied, giving his life for the cause. But anyways, let's finish looking around. I'd heard about the fortress from my father, but seeing it in person really drives home its incredible scale. Oh yeah, your father helps train the Imperial Army in swordsmanship, doesn't he? I can see why he's so busy if he's going around training all the soldiers in places this massive. Indeed, I feel like the reality of what is finally sinking in for me as well. I have no idea how his teachings are actually being applied though. Perhaps we'll have the opportunity to find out during today's military training exercise. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, hey. The soldiers here seem pretty well trained. Pretty well equipped too. Like you'd expect from the Empire's biggest fortress. You need to put in some serious prep time if you wanted to topple it. I'm not sure that's something you should say within earshot of the soldiers. Old habits die hard. I respect it, Fee. I respect it. What are you doing, Instructor Sarah? Oh yeah, Tova gave me a call about what happened in Legram. They had a mechanical monster show up outside the city limits. Yeah, Tova looked pretty concerned when we first mentioned it to him too. Do you know anything about them? Well, I'm no stranger to the group that makes them. They go by the name Ouroboros. About time I haven't said their name in a while. They're a secret society of sorts that acts in the shadows all across the continent. Secret society? We don't know how many members there are, what they're capable of. Honestly, we don't know much about them at all. What we do know is that they have access to technology more advanced than the most cutting-edge research institutes, and that they've been behind several crises that have threatened to shake the foundations of entire nation-states. And these are the people who made those monsters? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I'd find it hard to swallow, but there's no denying what we saw out there. Well, you don't need to come to grips with it just yet. We call the mechanical monsters like the ones you guys fought, archaisms. And lately it seems like an awful lot of them have made their way onto the black market. There's been one sighting after another these days, all over the Empire and beyond. Wow, that's heavy. Does that mean there's a chance they might be plotting something here in Erebonia? Just in your opinion, I mean. Well, that's the tricky thing about them. It doesn't necessarily mean that at all. There have been cases where we know they put archaisms out into the wild purely to test their abilities, for example. Still, it's something to keep in the back of your mind, at least. Right, I'll be sure to let the others know too. Emma. Oh, are you taking a rest, Emma? I did take a short walk around, but everything about this fortress is so imposing. It made me feel a little faint. I feel you there. Looking at Emma now, it's hard to believe she's the same person who almost single-handedly guided us through that castle. Green? No, never mind. But there is one thing that's been bugging me lately. Ever since we arrived in Legram, I feel like just out of the corner of my eye, I catch glimpses of the small black shadow following us. But ever since we got to the fortress, I haven't seen it. Really? Maybe you were possessed by something. Possessed? Yikes. That's kind of an unsettling thought. It is, isn't it? Yeah, I'm glad I told her to go back when we reached Keldic. Oh well, let's go to the motor pool first. I think there was people to interact with there. Yep. Elliot and Elise. I'm not looking forward to this. You've never seen any military exercises before, right, Reen? Yeah, this will be my first time. I take it you have then. Yeah, my dad showed me one the last time he brought me out here. He really does want me to join the military, but I really don't think I'll ever be suited for it the way he is. I get where you're coming from. The more I hear about his death, the more curious I get. Like we're gonna see him here. I'm not entirely sure how to feel seeing so many Oxens lined up like this. The Reinford Company makes these, don't they? Unfortunately so. I'm sure they'll be using them for this military exercise too. As far as I can tell, they'll be pitted against the older, automated models. That sounds pretty brutal. The older tanks won't stand a chance. Well, that's kind of the point. They want to show off just how easily the Oxens can dominate them. Well, you don't get the chance to go eyes on with this stuff every day. I take the opportunity to see for myself just how competent they are. That's just like her. So much of this fortress to explore. Wow. I can't believe the size of this place. Oh, given that uniform, you must be one of the students from Thor's. Feel free to look around all you like, but try to stay out of our way. We're all incredibly busy at the moment. So if you don't mind, I'd ask you to make your way to the corridor over there instead of hanging around here. Understood. Thank you very much. Might as well head over there. Guys, are you okay? I'm just kind of shocked by how different the atmosphere here is from Zendergate. Well, it is a major military base right on the border of Crossbell. I never imagined it'd be quite this big, though. This place is such a departure from Zendergate that I can hardly believe that this is the same military, although perhaps this is the true face of the Imperial Army. This fortress is the very definition of oversized, and that's ignoring the excessive display of military power. I imagine that the posturing is meant to show the Kreutzen Provincial Army that they could crush them on a whim. I forgot what this place probably means to you and your family, I suppose. While I don't agree with my father's actions, I can't say I'm comfortable with this fortress's presence either. In fact, I find it hard to believe that anyone could sleep peacefully near a fortress like this. Well, I guess you can't see it from here after all. We'd be able to see it from where the railway guns are, but they'll get mad if I get too close to them. What are you up to now, Milliam? You know that huge Orcus Tower where they're holding the trade conference? I'm trying to get a good view of that. Oh yeah, they mentioned it in the Imperial Chronicle and on the radio. Can you actually see it from all the way over here? That'd be incredible. Would I ever lie to you? I wish I could have gone with Gramps instead of being stuck on some stupid field study. Why'd you join Class 7 then? Speaking of which, they're going to be holding the keynote session there tomorrow. I wonder what they'll be talking about during it. Most people are thinking it's just so they can decide on finance rules and stuff for Western Zemuria. But I think it's really going to end up being about who Crossbell belongs to. Knowing Gramps, he might even try to get Crossbell to become a part of Erebonia. Seriously. The prince is going to be there too, so he'll probably just try and shake everybody up a bit. Unbelievable. Toa's there too. So here's hoping things go well. Turn to the fortress. Motor pool, which I think I've been to already. Yeah, I just came from there. Oh wait, over here. These are the last two. Crazy, really is night and day. Yeah, it's hard to imagine two places more diametrically opposed. What's wrong, you two? Oh, we're just talking about how different this place is to Jurai. Jurai was super lively. This place, I think Crow's having withdrawals now that he's somewhere without easy access to a casino at all times. I can imagine. Seems like everyone's talking about Jurai these days, though. Was it really that amazing? It was. I didn't know what to expect with the recent annexation by Erebonia, but everything looked fine to me. It has offices, an entertainment district, and all of the people I saw were thoroughly enjoying themselves. I go as far to say that they're happy to be under the Imperial government's control. I don't know if I'd go that far. Oh? Little Bird told me Chancellor Osborne was the one behind the annexation in the first place. It also told me he used some pretty forceful tactics to get them to agree. And of course, most of their tax money takes a brand new detour straight into the Imperial government's pockets. I wouldn't be surprised if he made the annexation happen just to fatten his pocketbook. But paying taxes is a citizen's duty. It's only natural that they do so now that they're under Erebonia's protection, right? Sounds like this is a pretty complicated issue. This bulletin is to inform all Thor students that preparations for today's military exercise are now complete. Please assemble in the hangar immediately. Your transport is standing by. I repeat. That's Instructor Nightheart. The time must have passed more quickly than I thought. I suppose I should start making my way toward the hangar. Maybe I'll run into the others on my way. We boarded the armored cars and set off toward the proving grounds. The inside of the armored cars was narrow and cramped, and the smell of machine oil hung in the musty air. The cars shook and rattled over the uneven ground, tumbling us around like an iron coffin on wheels. Eventually, after enduring 10 minutes of jaw-rattling travel, unable to even peek outside at the scenery, we finally arrived at Garrelia Fortress's military proving grounds. Wow, Oxen main battle tanks. There's plenty of older model tanks out there too. It even looks like they have airships there. Oh yeah, like the ones we saw in Nord. Welcome. Oh, that must be Craig the Red. I'm assuming. Yep. So that's Elliot's dad. I don't see the family resemblance. Looks like the hair made the jump from father to son, though. Reporting, Lieutenant General. Very good, Nightheart. And Instructor Valentine, I believe. Pleased to meet you. It's an honor to make your acquaintance, Lieutenant General Craig. Allow me to extend my deepest thanks for agreeing to cooperate with us for the Academy's curriculum today. Think nothing of it. Many of these fine youngsters may one day hold positions in the Imperial Army after all. Besides, I owe a lot to General Van Dyke. Ah, and these must be? What a piercing stare. So this is Craig the Red. Elliot, my boy, it's so good to see you again. Huh? That demeanor change. Immediate. Wow. It must be half a year now since I last saw you. How have you been? That's a sharp looking uniform you've got too. I've seen the photos, but it looks even better on you in person. Dad, come on. You still got a long way to go if you want to put on some real muscle. There's a part of me that hopes you'll stay my little cherub forever. But you're a man of Erebonia, and the men of the Empire must be strong, stout, and ready for action. It was for your own good as a man that I held back my tears and enrolled you in the military academy. Dad, I can't breathe. It's actually really interesting. I feel like everything I've been told about him was a lie. There do seem to be some differences from the stories. You kidding me? He seems like a cool guy. Look at him face palming. What a delightful commanding officer you have, Major. Words fail me. Dad, knock it off. I'll tell Fiona. Moving right along. Lieutenant General Olaf Craig. Man. I'm Lieutenant General Olaf Craig, commander of the Imperial Army's 4th Armored Division. I've been entrusted with the role of overseeing today's joint military exercise. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Likewise, sir. It's a pleasure, sir. You've got one heck of a dad, Elliot. Believe me, I feel it in the bones. Now let me give you a brief rundown of what will be happening. This exercise will consist of a simulated battle conducted by 2 of our armored division. Armored regiments at the formation center, infantry, armored cars, and airships will work in tandem, using their maneuverability to the fullest to obliterate the targets. As our targets today, we'll be using previous model tanks that have been decommissioned from surface. Autopilot functionality will allow them to evade and return fire, but they've only been armed with paint bullets. However, all other regiments taking part in today's exercise have been equipped with live ammunition. So you intend to actually destroy the other tanks. It would hardly be a live fire exercise if we didn't. The current time is 1400 hours, right on schedule. We'll now begin today's joint military exercise. Armored Divisions 4 and 5 commence combat operations. Glory to the Empire and the Imperial Army begin. Yes, sir. 5th Armored Division, Armored Regiment will advance first. Armored Car Regiment and Infantry Regiment follow their lead. 4th Armored Division, Armored Regiment and Infantry Regiment advance together. Armored Car Regiment deploy to the left and right. Wow. It's certainly potent. So this is the kind of firepower it takes to fight a modern war. You said those tanks are called Oxens? Yeah, they're a type of main battle tank the Reinford Company developed 2 years ago. I've seen their spec sheets, but seeing their power firsthand tells you what numbers and decimal points don't. It might be the strongest heavy tanks on the continent. And the Imperial Army's got a couple hundred of those in the wings, huh? That's kind of crazy. You try fighting things like these head on, you won't stand a chance. That's as true for our own nation as it is for others. I just can't get used to this. Just the sound of the artillery firing is enough to make me start shaking. I don't think that's something you should get used to. I mean, The sound of guns and warfare ever stopped bothering you, I'd be worried. I mean, I guess this is another kind of thing. Thus, the military exercise came to an end. The 4th Armored Division, led by Lieutenant General Krebs, withdrew to an encampment near the fortress. Meanwhile, we returned to the fortress, where Major Neidhart outlined the results of the training exercise. After that, sorry you had to wait for us to finish. Don't worry about it, we're guests here after all. Thanks for your consideration. At the very least, I'd say dinner's a million times better than lunch was. I mean, it's hash beef day. That's an imperial tradition, isn't it? Oh, just the smell is making me hungry. Oh yeah, where'd your instructor go? She's a real looker. I was hoping to get a chance to talk to her. We went to see the fortress commander with Instructor Neidhart. She did ask us to eat without her tonight. Ah, right. Well, if she's with Major Neidhart, it's hard to compete with those guys from the 4th Armored Division. It'd be enough if they just had Craig the Red. They've got the Major too, and he's kinda scary. Like a division of musclemen. Anyway, we shouldn't keep you tied up any longer. Your hash beef's gonna go cold. See you tomorrow, guys. Wow, it's actually delicious. It's like night and day compared to what we had for lunch. You're telling me? Oh, come on, guys. What's with all the gloomy faces? You think you guys might have had a bit too rosy of an outlook? What were you expecting to see out there? I'm sure you can understand at least a little how we feel. It's like, has everything we've learned in our time at the academy been for nothing? Academics, the arts, individual skill in combat, none of those matter in the slightest in real warfare, do they? It's true. If all you're looking to do is fight a war, you don't need any of those. All you need is plenty of troops at your command, the latest weaponry, and overwhelming firepower. Assuming you know the tactics to use them well and the strategy that employs them effectively, I suppose. Oxens are even more powerful than I was expecting them to be too. I remember my mother boasting about their capabilities when she was trying to sell them to the army 2 years ago, but to be honest, I'm feeling somewhat disheartened as well. I can't see there being a place for swords on the battlefield with weapons like those on the front lines. Well, I don't think that means individual combat skill doesn't matter at all. Still, I think maybe we've been misunderstanding something important all this time. What we saw in that military exercise today was power in its purest form. It has no morality of its own. It exists to bring about a result, regardless of the ideals or principles of those who wield it. That's true. In a sense, the same could be said of a sword or a gun, and all the way up to something as huge as Guerrilla's railway guns too. I think I finally understand why they wanted us to watch that military exercise in the first place. They could have taught us in a less roundabout fashion. Well, looks like you didn't wait for me to start the party. Instructor Sarah. So you spoke with the commander? Sure did. I've got up-to-date info on the trade conference too, as well as all the latest on the terrorists. So there's new information about the Imperial Liberation Front? Anyway, before I get to that, let me explain what you'll be doing tomorrow. In the morning, you're scheduled to participate in the Imperial Army's physical fitness training. In the afternoon, you'll be attending a special lecture where I'll bring you up to speed on that info I just mentioned. After that, you've been granted special permission to view the railway guns. I see. Looking forward to that. Sounds like we've got a pretty packed schedule. Well, we did bring you all the way out here, so we might as well make the most of it. Every nation possesses power in the form of a military, whether that military is large or small. Corellia Fortress just happens to have that power in a very striking, easy to understand form. As students of a military academy, you have no obligation to know the scale of the power. You have an obligation to know the scale of the power. The Empire of Erebonia wields at present a power you might one day be in charge of yourselves. What? Hehe. Anyway, even a meeting that long couldn't keep me away from trying the famous hash beef rice. I've heard it's the only decent food they have around here, so I've been looking forward to this all day. We should probably finish eating. Yeah, though it's gotten a bit cold now. Maybe I'll go ask for seconds. Oh, Eustace, if you don't want the rest of yours, can I have it? I'd sooner throw it away than give it to you. Damn. Harsh. Now, apparently I missed a book or whatever. Or two. No, the book, but I couldn't... It wasn't in the shop. I wonder. Okay, that should do it. Alright, that covers today's quota. I'm looking forward to a nice long bath. Well, you know how every time there's a military exercise coming up, the workload gets pretty crazy like this. Still, at least managing inventory has gotten a lot easier thanks to the Orbital Net. They've got everything hooked up on the network over in Crossbell, right? Wish the Empire would get on that a bit more. Think of the utility. Well, from the sound of it, you need special equipment to send signals through a wired connection to make use of it. And considering the size of the Empire, it's probably going to be quite a while before it's a widespread thing here. Huh? An Orb mail? Looks like it's from HQ. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This right here is the problem with the Orbital Net. There's no such thing as off hours when they can just send you orders round the clock. Huh? What's going on? So get this, they're planning on doing some extra exercise tomorrow. That means we've got to outfit 20 Oxens with C units by tomorrow. 20! Seriously? Might as well start up another pot of coffee. We're in for an all-nighter for sure. Do we even have that many C units left? Actually, another lot came by freight just this evening. Exactly 20, if you can believe it. Guess we'll just have to get it done. Crap, at least let us take a shower. I'm gonna head down to the mess hall and grab some snacks. You want anything? I will save right here in a different spot, obviously.